She said it was really you who taught me that I need to both challenge them and support them. Support them when they're growing and expanding and taking on bigger challenges, but then challenge them when they crave support.
No one else is going to believe in this if you believe in you. So just get out there and do shit.
Well, let's start with the question again. Why do you feel the need to support everybody else and put yourself last? Because I think that's a big thing that a lot of people do, is that they try to support everybody else, but at the same time they've convinced themselves that they don't need to support themselves because they don't have the self-worth. They see worth in others, but a lot of people don't see worth within themselves. And so I think there are a lot of people in our society who buy into this perception that if you can help everybody else, then everybody else should help you. But then everybody else is like, your whole life is wrapped up in this notion that everybody should just be doing everything for everybody else. Because if your idea of the world is, well, I should help everybody else, but then I've created this expectation that everybody else should help me, when that doesn't come, which most people come to realize at some point in time, is really an irresponsibility of taking control of your own life. And true inspiration comes from realizing the greatness and the love and the support that you have within yourself in order to go and follow your own mission in life and do your own thing, but at the same time inspire others around you. I remember a story with a woman who came to Thrive Time, and with Nancy, you know, she is in a business role where she learned she supported people, and her philosophy was that you need to support people who are challenged in life. And so she perceived that all these people around her were struggling and they were challenged, and she gave all this energy to them, but she got a lot of this feedback, and I'll call it like negative feedback, where people around her weren't taking responsibility for their own lives. They were almost solely reliant on her for their happiness. They were solely reliant on her for support and to get stuff in life, and they could hardly look after themselves. When she came to Thrive Time, I said to her, look, have you ever thought about challenging them? And she said, I can't challenge them because, a lot of them have come from bad homes and bad backgrounds and they've had hard lives and all this stuff. And I said, but when you over support them, you get the feedback because they're going to challenge you because they're not taking responsibility, and you're going to have the responsibility of looking after them. They're not going to have the responsibility of looking after themselves. And you're going to end up having to babysit these people, and you're going to create a lot of frustration and resentment and anger towards them because you're going to feel like you're always giving everything to them, and that every time you take that away from them, you start to get feedback where they make you feel guilty and they make you feel ashamed because they'll say things like, well, you never look after me, you never do anything, it's always about you. But it's not always about you, it's just that you've taken back a little bit of your own power, and they're starting to become resentful of that because they're solely reliant on you, they're attached to you. And I said, optimum growth always happens when you've got a balance between challenge and support amongst your peer group or amongst the people around you. If you over challenge people, you crush them, but if you over support them, you babysit them. So you need to challenge them enough in them to expand and evolve within themselves, but give them the support in order to keep expanding. Don't give them support because they need support, because if not, they'll crave support, and when they do, you end up babysitting for the rest of your life. Or they'll create a lot of guilt and resentment towards you because you take that away from them one day. And it's almost like a spoiled child. If you keep giving them money and keep giving them money, they'll keep spending it. And one day you go, you need to look after yourself. And they'll go, you know what, you've destroyed my life. You've taken everything away from me. And that's what happens when you over support people. I hadn't seen her for about 1.5 years and 2 years, and she loved our event. About 2 years later, she came back to do one of our more advanced events. And I said, how's everything going? She said, you wouldn't believe it. My career has grown like multiple levels, and I have to work with all the most challenging people that we have at our work, and it's in the field of counseling. She said, I'm a high-level manager that has to deal with the most difficult cases, and the people that I have to do counseling for or that I have to look after, like especially the teenagers that have a lot of challenges with the law and have a lot of challenges with society and rules, they're actually really good because when they challenge me, I challenge them back. And I give them more and more responsibility, and the more they step up to take control of that responsibility. Whereas she said a lot of other people over support them, but they just get a lot of feedback and they get taken advantage of and they get hurt quite a lot. And she said it was really you who taught me that I need to both challenge them and support them. Support them when they're growing and expanding and taking on bigger challenges, but then challenge them when they crave support, because if not, they become like big babies. She said it really works well. But again, you're always trying to find where that balance point is, and very rarely do you get it right. But she said, now I know about it, I can see when I'm over supporting them, and I can see where they're being over challenged. Whereas before, I used to just think that I had to support everybody because they were incapable of supporting themselves. But at the same time, I put myself last, which created a lot of internal conflict and a lot of internal challenge because I felt like I was unsupported and I felt like no one cared about me and no one looked after me. But it was actually me who didn't look after me because I used to put everyone else first and support everybody else.